Good morning. I've never really been a vlogging type, but multiple people now have told me that it's necessary for me to share my story in order for you guys to truly understand the platform that I'm building. So, without further ado, bear with me. I'm trying to do this in one take. I'm going to kind of freestyle it just because I feel like this is something that's near and dear to my heart, and organizing it and reading a script or a speech just doesn't fit my mode. So, with that being said, my name is Roderick Dix. I am from Indiana. I rep it loud and proud. I'm a former alumni of Indiana University as well. I'm a father of two. I actually enjoy many things in life. One of the things that I've always had near and dear to my heart is athletics. I played baseball in college and I played basketball in high school. One of the things that brought me to do this was because I do understand that we are now living in a time that is really not much different than any other time in human history. We just have more access to things than previous generations did, but that doesn't make us any better, nor does it make us any worse. I do understand that there's a lot of noise out there and there's a lot of things that people latch on to. But I do think that latching on process happens because clarity is missing from the equation. I pride myself on being someone that has always asked one question, and that's why. When I grew up outside of Gary, Indiana, and Maryville, Indiana, I used to sit there as a kid all the time. And not a lot of people know this, actually, not even a lot of my family and friends. But at a very early age, I used to find things in life very confusing and conflicting as well. Um, I look at a lot of the situations that exist in the world that really don't have a justification based off of our capabilities as human beings. One of the most important things that stuck out to me at a young age was where I grew up in Indiana. I grew up on 100th. A lot of my friends grew up on 55th, so you're talking about 45 block-ish distance, less than 10 miles or so apart. And when I would leave my subdivision and make my way down their subdivision, there was a main road that we would always take. It's called Broadway. Those from the Midwest, outside of Chicago, Northwest Indiana, understand what Broadway is. It's a very, very popular street. Obviously, there's Broadways all over the country as well, but I digress. So, when you're driving down Broadway, you see a lot of things. So, you see new businesses, you see existing businesses that have been there for many years, and you see businesses that have gone out of business. To me, that was always my vantage point of America, and for a long time, the world too. I used to sit in the car, and I've always been the one to look out the window. I still do it today. It's one of my favorite pastimes when you're stuck in traffic is just to take in the environment that you're a part of. So as I was driving in the car one day, I'll never forget asking my mom this question. And I said, "Hey, those guys are cutting the grass, but they're not cutting the grass that's high right next to them. Why is that the case?" And I'll never forget her answer because I felt like she looked at me, one, like I was crazy, and two, like, what does it matter? And she responded by saying, "Well, that's their job." And I was like, "But the grass right next to the lawnmower is high and the guy keeps circling around it." And she made a very clear point to me that, one, we don't question these things very often. My mom was just, her response was, "That's how it is." And so as we got further down Broadway, you see all the city workers out cutting grass. And then right when I got to where my friends lived on 55th, about 3 blocks forward is Gary, Indiana. And their grass was probably hadn't been touched in months, for example, right? In certain areas around their businesses. Also, as you get further down Broadway, a lot of the businesses are closed. And I used to be like, huh. So customers would go to visit businesses very like these over here, but they won't go over there. And you could literally walk in between the distances. So I used to always think that was confusing. And I would also look at it, it's like the landscaping looks completely different. There would be three different levels. Where I grew up, where I was fortunate to move to after in my elementary school days, we had great landscaping all around. The subdivision, our parks, everything was clean. You didn't have to worry about trash and things of that nature. You could play outside, ride your bikes, do all the things that kids love to do, right? And then as you went further down Broadway, though, it got more and more, as I hate this term, but just for you guys to understand what I'm saying, it got more and more sketch. Um, and I never understood that as a kid. And I would look at it as like, if I can take time to cut grass in this one area of the street, and it doesn't take me that much longer to cut grass in this other side of the street, why would I stop? And it's no offense to those that were working for the city. It's the byproduct of the systems that we've created in our world. We've gotten very comfortable not asking the questions why. And we've gotten very comfortable allowing our fellow humans to go through life with certain disadvantages that really don't make sense. I understand that we enjoy competition. I understand that creating the system of the haves and have nots has become part of our world and has been part of our world for a very long time. What I don't understand, though, is the lack of education around this. I think a lot of people have become numb to the way the world works. I think we all wake up, we live our days, we do what we can inside of our own ecosystems, and then we go to sleep and do it all over again. I think because of that process, we've negated caring for our fellow human being. I think you see a lot of things, especially now that we have more access to each other than we ever had before in human history. You would think that our ability to show empathy and sympathize with others would increase, but instead, we've taken an opportunity to almost tear each other down even more. I think when social media was created, I was probably one of the weirdos that was super excited that it existed. I remember the days of getting my first college email address and I could finally make a Facebook account. It was like internally, I was like, finally, I'm not stuck with only learning about one area of my country. I could actually see what's going on the West Coast more often or see what's going on the East Coast more often. When you grow up in the Midwest, great wholesome families, great education. I'm not very proud of that. Um, but at the same time, you're left with kind of a veil over your eyes of what the rest of the world looks like. And so luckily I grew up not too far from Chicago, so it was very easy for me to kind of see a big city lifestyle. But even then, the things that you would hear is just, oh, it's the hustle, the bustle, and all the people doing what they do to make the world go round. But I would look at it from a just, I don't know. I guess, like, again, just call me weird. And I'm sorry that I'm rambling. So I told you guys ahead of time, just stay with me on this one. I promise I have a point here. But I would just sit there and look, and I would say, you know, when we get to a point of having access to each other, like I thought Facebook was going to bring to the world, and it did in a lot of cases, don't get me wrong. I felt like we would use that platform to allow ourselves to learn more and to engage from a perspective of understanding that we're really not that different. I know a lot of people want to put a label on everything for that matter. And when we start talking about gender and race, and does this person have this amount of money or does this person have this job, this level of prestige, et cetera, I felt like that got amplified way more than the curiosity that should have gotten amplified, in my opinion. I think when you look at our ability to do things like this, like speak to each other transparently and vulnerably, and have the ability to, really connect on a level that previous generations wish they could. I think we take it for granted. I really do. I think, when you think about history and you think about all the things we know to be true, like not having a car at some point in time in life, not having electricity, not having the internet, all these things that, people that if it was the 1800s, they we were able to go back in time and show them a cell phone. I think they would be like, man, this is like sorcery, or you guys are very lucky that you can call somebody and you don't have to write a 12-page letter and wait 6 weeks for somebody to respond. We can just send a text message. And I think all these things with technology, as great as it is, we have decided to take it down a road that doesn't amplify its true value. And so when I got that Facebook account, like I said, I was super excited. And the first thing that I do, and anybody that knows me personally, they know I love connection. So I'm that guy that is 20 odd years removed from high school, but I still communicate and talk to everybody that I grew up with, everybody that I've ever come in contact with. It's like I always joke around with my friends and say, hey, once you're in the circle, you're in the circle. So I immediately went searching once I got on Facebook. I started looking in other states for people. I started looking at other schools for people. And when I was in college, a lot of the time I would be at Indiana. Well, I started at Butler, but I would be at Indiana eventually. And pretty much every weekend I was somewhere else. I would take advantage of the ability to just go to this campus, see what they do, see how they learn, see if anything was different, right? And I felt like that journey was necessary because it helped me understand, just especially in America in particular, that all the ways that we go about educating ourselves, connecting with ourselves, the things that we enjoy, they're so similar. So I used to sit there in college all the time and I would just be like, man, it's not that hard for us to just talk. Like it's not that hard for people to just get to know each other. It's like when we sit down and have conversation, people are not rude. People are not aggressive off the jump. Some may be, but usually that's strictly just because the space hasn't been created for them to feel vulnerable and be transparent, and they have a lot of assumptions that have built up over time, that it could be from things that they've seen, experiences that they've had, maybe it's traditions passed down, whatever the case may be. But even the people that people say like, oh man, this person's a cruel individual, I've never shied away from talking to that person because that person has a story too. And I feel like when you get to know those people and you give them that opportunity to say, well, hey, whatever's on your mind, man, I don't care. Just speak your truth. You come to find out that the soul of a human being is wired pretty much the same way. Um, and when you realize that at an early age, like I did, you start to question, okay, well, how did we get here? So I completed my collegiate journey and I went straight into a professional career that I didn't plan on taking. I spent almost 15 years of life working for Lazy Boy Incorporated. Prior to that, I worked at Champ Sports. So if you guys want my professional background, there you go. There's only two jobs on it. And the reason for that is because, again, once you're in the ecosystem, you're in the ecosystem. So if I commit to something, I'm committed. And I didn't really feel like it was necessary for me to job hop. One of the things that I learned from working in the retail industry in particular, though, is you get to, again, it's a blessing in disguise for me because I enjoy connection. So customer service became one of my most favorite things in the world. I enjoyed meeting people from all walks of life, especially when I worked in the mall, as because I started with Champs at 15 and I worked there till about 20. Um, so that was a great time as like your teenage years, early adult years to kind of just see how everybody mix and mingles inside of a mall setting, especially in America. I mean, it was great to see, and you would hear conversations that most people probably would ignore, you know, and I just felt like I never did. And just hearing the parents talk about being parents, and I always knew I would have kids someday. So I would always take little mental notes of like, oh, okay, when we shoe shop, when we do this, when you have these conversations, or your kids run around a store, like, how do you respond, you know? And so I felt like I got a lot of practice at that, which I don't know if my kids agree. I think they will, but I feel like I'm a pretty good dad. um, but yeah, so that was a big learning for me. And then when I kind of went into my big boy job with Lazy Boy, and the customers got a little more elevated, the conversations got a little more elevated, and it was always something that I took away from that experience was because our customer base was a little older, I got a lot of exposure to people that were much older than me and had a lot more life experience than me. And I'll never forget a conversation that I had with a gentleman in Atlanta, Georgia, and he was a customer of mine. And he was one of the first guys to work on GPS. And he was explaining to me when he was in the Navy and how GPS became about. And we just sat there. I'm selling this guy a recliner, and we were just having the greatest conversation. And I think he was more intrigued the fact that I was just that interested. But again, that's just me. And he told me all these things. Some things he may not have told me, I don't know, but he told me anyways, and I appreciate him for doing so. But one of the things he was saying was when they were embarking on creating GPS, they were doing it for reasons that he didn't believe in. He loved the concept of being able to not have to use maps anymore. And he understood the public implication of being able to say, hey, I can now travel here, there, everywhere. His concerns were that it was going to make war easier. And he told me, like, at this point, this gentleman's in his early 80s, and he was telling me, hey, once we were do work on this project, we would have, meetings amongst us individuals that were on the team, and we would talk about things like this, like, are we doing the right thing for humanity? Are we actually making things worse? Are we making it better? And he was very conflicted on the inside, and so he was able to share with me that now that everything is out there created, he said if he had to do it all over again, he would have taught people the purposes of why they were creating what they were creating. He said, when we create systems or we create technologies and we don't explain the why properly to the general public and we just allow them to just experience it, he was just like, a lot of people will miss the value and a lot of people will misuse the product. And so I told him, I was like, man, I was like, because at this time I was freshly new to Atlanta. So I was like, I use GPS every day, man. I was like, I'll tell you right now, it was the best thing since sliced bread for me because I was like navigating these Atlanta streets from somebody from Indiana. I was like, it was a whirlwind. We had a good laugh about that. But then he also challenged me to think deeper. And he was just saying, think about the areas that don't have the same level of access as you. And he encouraged me to travel the world. And I had never really considered putting world travel so high on my pedestal up until this conversation. And realistically, prior to this conversation, I had taken a spring break trip to Mexico. I had definitely gone all through the United States thanks to baseball, but I hadn't really left our country. So when I had the opportunity to do so, I remembered that conversation and I was like, okay, well, we're going to make a pact. So on my 25th birthday, I decided every single year I'm going to try to leave the country at least once. And I'm going to listen to what this gentleman told me and really try to experience how other humans on the planet live. So I've been doing that. I'm now 37. So for the last 12 years, I have been fortunate enough to leave the country at least once or twice a year. And I've made a list of all the countries I wanted to go to. And then that list kind of just been expanded and expanded. I've gone to all 50 states except two now. And it's great because as you travel our world, you get to really realize that, again, not that we're not that different, it's just how things are put together around us and the systems that are in place. People are not questioning them. And I think, when you look back in time, there is an era of time where we all believed that innovation was necessary. And when I say innovation, I don't mean, hey, let's make a new product. I mean, innovating our thoughts, innovating how we interact, like making things accessible to others that we know are necessary. Um, and once I saw how different people in the world were living, I didn't necessarily want to say I had pity because I feel like everybody's human experience is something that you can make it whatever you want to make it. And what I mean by that is from the mental perspective. Like, yes, from a materialistic perspective, there's definitely a lot of disparities. From a health and education perspective, there's tons. And from just an overall environment. But as far as who I choose to be as an individual, I feel like my thoughts are my thoughts, and I have full control of those every single day. And I truly believe that. And so I encouraged myself after a couple of years of doing this, leaving the country, to stop staying in resorts. And the reason I did that is because I feel like when you go on vacation and you live in a resort or stay in a resort, you miss the opportunity to truly understand what the culture is like. Especially coming from America, I feel like a lot of resorts are tailored to our lifestyles and how we like to live. And you're talking to somebody that loves Wi-Fi. Like, I need Wi-Fi. I'm not gonna lie. I am addicted to having access to Wi-Fi. Not ashamed to admit it, but I also need to understand and have the data to be able to collect my thoughts and help myself become more well-rounded in my thoughts to understand what it's like to not have it. And then understanding what that means. So I tell my kids all the time when they ask me questions, I'm like, hey, if I'm your source of knowledge, then we got a problem because I'm still learning. So you guys are walking around with the computer in your pocket every single day, referring to their cell phones. And I was like, there's people in the world that have already taken time to do all the research and provide you all the knowledge you may need to answer this question. And so I always encourage them to use their devices for the purposes of being able to educate themselves. Because I feel like if you're going to have the tool, you might as well maximize the capability of it. But when people don't have these tools and you start to realize that some may think that's a good thing, which it could entirely be true. Because obviously we understand the distractions that come with these tools and how that affects your day to day. But if you are somebody out there that is truly trying to better yourself from a knowledge perspective, having all the tools accessible to you definitely makes that as an easier opportunity for you. And I think everybody in the world would agree to that because we look at the things that we know that again, the systems that we build, the complexity of them makes it very difficult to navigate without having the proper tools in your tool belt. So I would spend time talking to individuals in these different countries, in these different cities, and just getting to know people. And when you get to know people, you start to realize that they're not making these decisions without the ability to process their thoughts. They're not lacking any intellect. I'm not any smarter than them or better than them in any way, shape, or form. Not that like I ever would thought I would be, but I know the narratives out there are sometimes pretty crazy when it comes to this. Um, it's just that they just haven't been granted the ability to get the data. Um, and I think that that's unfortunate, in my opinion, because it's out there. It's like, what is the purpose of gatekeeping education? And that leads me to my point of why I enjoy traveling is because if there's anything that I can provide, um, it's always going to be a good conversation. I enjoy just talking. Anybody that knows me on a personal level, and if you guys tell the time this video is done, I can do this all day. I don't personally enjoy talking to myself, but which is why I don't enjoy vlogging. But at the same time, talking to a stranger is no big deal at any given time. I digress. So my point in bringing this up was that as I was traveling, I got to really get a chance to experience how other humans live on Earth. And that's really as generic as I wanted it to be because at the end of the day, our bodies are created the same way, from what I understand. There's majority of us have come out with 10 fingers and 10 toes. Our organs all pretty much operate the same way, barring any defects. And our brains pretty much operate the same way, barring any defects. And I do think that when you look at human life from that perspective, you start to realize that why am I caring so much about the differences between me and another person when we're sharing the same planet, for one, and two, this individual is just like me. Um, and I think a lot of people want to create differences in some cases. And I think it's almost not necessarily a fear, but it could be. But I do think it's mostly just because no one's ever shown them a different path. I think that we have, if you go back through history, and I'm a researcher, so again, I love knowledge. I love trying to get as much as I can. So those that are watching this, please share whatever you need to share. Give me all the feedback you want, because everybody's perspective always matters to me. Good, bad, ugly, doesn't matter. Good feedback is feedback, especially when it's for improvement. Uh, but yeah, so I do think that there's a level of understanding that if I can make my tomorrow better, I should be able to do so at the full extent of my abilities. So if I'm somebody that has the thoughts and the dreams and the passions to do something in this world, all the tools are available to do so at this point in time. Our generation is one of the probably easiest generations to live through. I know that the media seems to make it seem like it's super, super hard. And I do understand that I'm talking from a place of privilege, and I want to acknowledge that. But at the same time, I do understand too how privilege became privilege. Um, there's a lot of people that fought for me to have the privileges that I have as an African American male, but not even on a racial aspect. It's more about the ability to understand that people are fighting for their inventions. Because from an educational perspective, regardless of race, the knowledge that's in the world today is leaps and bounds ahead of any generation that's ever existed. And what bothers me is the fact that we have gotten so consumed in our own worlds that we don't allow other people to access this on an easy, everyday basis. Now, if they choose to do it, great. If they don't, that's also their ability, but telling them that you have to jump through certain hoops in order to get it. I've just never understood that. And when I talk to individuals in other countries and they would tell me, like, yeah, you guys in America, you guys think this way or do this and that. And it almost became like competitive talk rather than, hey, here's a great idea. I hope we can come together and see the world the same way. I think when we look at individuals that exist and the decisions that they're making in our world, I think a lot of the times that comes from tradition, and no one's really able to step out on those traditions and say, hey guys, do we really want to still do this every day? Like, is this still necessary? Do we still want to say that there's good people and bad people and create all these different labels and all these different like systems that foster these environments for these labels, you know? And it's like, I always think about stuff like this during times like now where war is happening. And I always say, like, hey, you know, I appreciate that my kids, myself included, can go to bed at night and not really have too many concerns about someone coming in our home or, you know, dropping a bomb on me or whatever the case may be, right? And I feel like a lot of people take that for granted. When you go to these other places in the world and you see the devastation of what used to be. Like, I started this conversation telling you about grass not being cut. That's a privilege, right? I talked to you about businesses being closed down and some being open. That's a privilege. Now imagine going down a road and your school used to be there and you know your school is there because you have memories of going to that school, but now it's rubble. Now it's blown up and you had nothing to do with that. Like as a child, like, and I'm only laughing because it's painful to say out loud. And I think about the people that grow up and they have to accept that as, well, this is how the world is. And they're not in these rooms. Like, none of us get the capability of truly giving our 2 cents. I've always felt like if there was a world poll that took place, and since we all have, again, the tools to do so, I felt like we get spam text messages or phone calls all the time. I felt like there should be a global vote. Like, if we can't solve conflict, then all the citizens of the world should be able to get to add their 2 cents. I mean, I know how naive that sounds, but we also don't have data to the contrary. It's like, at least in my years of life, I've never been asked, hey, should we go to war? Yes or no. I've never gotten that text message or email or anything like that. Um, and I do feel like for the things that we enjoy and the things that we say fulfill us, at the end of the day, safety is the most important thing. And education, I would say, is a close second. So if we have the safety and we have the ability to educate ourselves, then I would give up a lot of things to ensure that kids can grow up and see their school from the time that they went through it, the time they graduated to the time that they could take their grandkids back and say, hey, I was at this school. You know, I enjoy that privilege, to be able to take my kids back to my high school and say, hey, this is where I went to high school. This is what school was like for me. I feel like there's a element of history there that allows you to kind of see how the world has changed over time. But I couldn't imagine if I'm having to flee my environment or feel just unsafe from the time I'm born till the time, you know, wherever, how long my life expectancy is based off of growing up in these places. And I know I'm off track right now, but at the same time, I think it's important to take this track because I want you guys to truly understand that, like, I do think we're better than this. I think that there has to be a point in time to where somebody in this world just stands up and says, "Hey, let's just try something different." Like if we have conflict, we have so many brilliant people on our planet and so many people that have the capability of curating conversations and narratives and the ways we can do it. I mean, just look at the media today alone. They can say one thing tomorrow and the whole and half of our country is like, absolutely, that's the way to go. And they have no data really to go off of other than Channel 5 or Fox or NBC or CNN or whoever the case said it. Now it's truth. And I do think if it's that easy, then let's just attempt to create a new environment, because at the end of the day, again, none of us would enjoy living this lifestyle. Like, I don't care what you may say as far as this, that, or the other. And I have a family that's full of military men and women. And I appreciate everything that they've done for me to keep me safe. And I appreciate all the others that have done so much to keep me safe. And I'm not ungrateful. So I don't want anybody to ever put that into my mouth, or misconstrue what I'm saying. All I'm saying is that if we're going to take this approach, then there has to be an approach that is reasonable enough to allow people around the world to be able to at least have access that is equal. And so going down that journey of thought over the years, and my time working with the general public in retail, I started to realize that all people from different walks of life, they think very similar to me. Um, when it all breaks down and you forget the whole label of Democrat, Republican, all that other nonsense that we feel like we have to hold on to like it's a sports team, um, and we're so loyal to, but we don't actually go out, and the majority of us, anyways, don't even go out in our communities and talk to other people. I mean, I was joking with my neighbor the other day, and I was just like, I don't even know more than 10 people in our subdivision. And it's shame on me. Like, I know everybody that lives around me, but I don't go door to door introducing myself. I don't go to the local elementary schools and high schools and middle schools introducing myself to the administration. Now, my children's schools, yes, but as far as like other people's schools, no. And I think that's one of the reasons why I started coaching youth sports, was just so that way I can put myself out there. But at the same time, it's like a lot of people live this lifestyle because when you look at it, if you're working 40 hours a week and let's say you have children, then majority of your time is inside of your own ecosystem. And when you live that way, you kind of miss the opportunity to communicate. And I'm a man of faith. I believe in God, and Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. And I understand that everybody has their own choices when it comes to religion, and I respect that. But whoever you believe in or don't believe in, we all understand that we don't have any control over how we get here. So that means that no matter where you're growing up in the world, you didn't ask to be a part of the world. Um, and so now that we're here, though, we do have the opportunity, because we all do have free will, to be able to make choices that truly allow us to prevent things that we know we would call a tragedy. Um, it hurts me when I hear things about, kids growing up with, you know, mental, I wouldn't even say, I don't like the term issues, or, but lacking the appreciation for who they are as people. And you hear about, school shootings and the tragedies that they bring, or like I said earlier, just war and the tragedy that it brings, or just health in general. It's like we have medications for everything on the planet. Like, I mean, and we're making more every single day, but yet we don't grant access to everybody. It's again, we enjoy this haves and have nots mentality. And I've just always questioned that. Like I said, from the time I was a kid all the way till now, I always wonder, like, why is that the way we choose to live as human beings? Like, what motivates us to feel like I need to be better than my neighbor? What motivates us to feel like we need more stuff than the next person? And when we know there's enough for everybody, um, it's we've already proven we know exactly how much food needs to be generated in order for the planet to survive. We know how much electricity, how much money, how much this, that, the other. Like we have the capabilities of doing all of this. Um, but it's like we're fearful or either just so consumed that it's irrelevant. And I just find that crazy to me. And you guys may disagree with everything that I'm saying, and that's okay. But I do think that if we really look in the mirror and ask ourselves, what is the objective of my time here on Earth? I don't think any of us are truly saying it's to make someone else's life harder. Um, because I see the good deeds all the time. Like I see people helping each other. I see people wanting to do more. I see people, providing this, that, or the other. But what I don't see is enough people coming together to question the systems, which leads me to how we got here. So appreciate you guys for listening that far. If you're still with me, appreciate that as well. If you're not, it's okay. So once I got old enough, once I created graduate school, shout out to St. Joseph's University. So I was able to complete my master's degree there. Um, I started realizing that the more I continued to educate myself scholastically and taking the academia route, that I was learning that yes, my mind was being expanded, but my life skills, and what I mean by life skills is how I interpret my time on earth. Um, that really wasn't being challenged. Yes, I can regurgitate his textbook. Yes, I can get up and do a presentation and get a good grade, all that stuff. Yes, I've never had a problem doing that. To me, our educational system for people that say like, oh, these kids are, dumber or not as smart, like I don't believe any of that. I think the kids today are light years ahead of where I was intellectually, and the reason is because they have more access, in my opinion. Now, the test scores may say a different thing, but then again, ask yourself if you're growing up with a device and that device is giving you information in quick burst rather than long form text, how do you think your brain is being wired to process information? Um, it's like, why are we concerned about reading levels when you're still giving the test in a format that doesn't align to society today? Well, a lot of the time is because, again, we don't challenge the system. How many people watching this have taken an SAT and then completed it and said, that didn't tell me how smart I was? Like, whatever this number comes back as, it has nothing to show you what my abilities are as a human being. And we've accepted that. We look at admissions and how to get into these universities and, oh, college is this and grant. And I'm 100% a fan of people that want to expand their knowledge. I think that's great. But at the same time, it's like the system is just old. Like it doesn't make sense anymore. It's like you have people that have the capabilities of teaching a human being anything in such a quicker, more efficient way. But instead of taking that time and investment to create something new, we just hope and pray that the system won't break. and we would just figure it out. Like there's no reason that, especially in America, that a teacher should have 30 plus kids just per him or her. Like what parent in their right mind, if you guys are parents out there, would want to have 30 mouths to feed, 30 rooms to clean, 30 this, 30 that. Like people talk about stress levels every day and you ain't dealing with none of that. And then on top of it, there's some of our least paid individuals in the world. Like that's crazy. Like you guys don't think that's weird. We all start with kindergarten teachers. Every single person has a kindergarten teacher in America. I don't care who you become in life. You start in our school system, the K through 12 system. That means you're starting with K in most cases, and those that are fortunate enough to skip K and go to one first, well, great. But you still start somewhere. And for us to feel like these individuals deserve less when they're shaping the minds of the future. They like think about the impact a teacher has. We all can remember our favorite teacher at some point in time. It could be a teacher, a professor, whatever the case, whatever level it is. You remember somebody that you just like, hey, this person poured into me in ways that I needed at that age. And I can name almost every single teacher I've ever had. And the reason is because, and they know this for those that are still living, I challenged them every day and I felt like, hey, if we're here to work together, then I'm going to ask questions. I ain't never have a problem asking questions. Um, and I feel like they gained an appreciation for me and I gained an appreciation for them for being open and honest with me. And I feel like it's crazy to me when I think about the inability for them to be put on a pedestal that they deserve to be put on because of what the people are actively out there doing every single day. I think anybody that works in government, anybody that works in healthcare, anybody that works in education, I feel like should be the three top paid positions in the world. I think because your responsibilities and the value that you bring to society is just unmatched. And then I would say following that would be those that entertain. Because when we don't have a place to release or outlet to allow us to, just take a break, I think the world, obviously, we've seen in history is just not a fun place to be a part of. So when we have these outlets, it's great. But back to education. So I just feel like, when we look at these different scenarios and we look at these headlines, because that's all we get today, you get a lot of headlines. You don't really get the article anymore. And everybody just attaches to the headline. If something goes across a ticker, it's like, oh, the world is falling apart, or oh, the education is terrible, and then no one questions it after that. It's like they don't say, well, why? And the easier thing to do is say, oh, because these kids are not playing outside, or they have phones and iPads and TV and all the things that we didn't have. Every single generation has an opportunity. And what I mean by that is the adults are the problem. It's not the kids, man. the kids are the kids are here. Again, they didn't ask to be here. So it's on us and we just don't have the patience to adapt to the ever-changing world. We want the stuff, but we don't take the time to learn how to use the stuff. I had a great conversation with my mom one time about my daughters using their iPads. And she was like, if they keep using those things, they're gonna sit there and, the brains are gonna explode. And she got real dramatic with it. And I was like, okay, well, tell me what they're supposed to do. And she was like, well, they need to be outside and they need to be playing and riding bikes like you did. And I was like, I don't disagree. But then tell me how they're gonna get outside. Because we've made outside scary. Outside seems like lava. I mean, to most kids, it's like my parents don't allow me. Like, I'll be honest, are anybody born after 85 and like I was born in 88, like we were the last outside generation. And I feel like it's going to stay that way until the adults decide to change it because it has nothing to do with the kids. We truly created a system to where we have so much technology in the world now that we have become hyper paranoid, in my opinion. Yes, there's going to be people that are going to do some things that are, again, tragedies. And I wish there was a way to rid that of the world altogether. But again, like I said, I'm a Christian and I believe that God doesn't make mistakes. And I do think that whatever your story ends up being, that story is something that it may break you in the moment, but not break your spirit. And I think, when we try to prevent tragedy, we're doing it from a place of love first, obviously, but at the same time, we're not effective in our approaches on how we do it. So, me adding a ring camera to my front door doesn't change the capability of somebody breaking into my house. Like, it makes me feel that way, and it makes me sleep a little easier. Um, but it doesn't change anything because it's not a system change. It's strictly just another toy. And so when you tell your kid that, hey, even though we can track them everywhere they go because they have phones and all these other devices that we created for safety, we still aren't encouraging them to go ride bikes. Like some people are, which I love. In my time in youth sports, I enjoy talking to parents that are still trying to force their kids to go outside and play, which is great. But we can't blame video games. We can't blame an iPad. It's strictly just because, like, I know when I was growing up, we would get home from school and I was begging to go play with my friends. I didn't have to like sit there and get kicked out of my house. I wanted to go play with the neighbors, but that was because the environment was set up to where that is what you do. And I had to learn that. I wasn't something that I just, randomly just picked up. It was because my parents encouraged that. My friends' parents encouraged us to play. It's like we enjoyed being around each other. And once you get away from that, and now you feel like the world is such a dangerous place, well, guess what? Everybody now are, as they call, helicopter parents, and we keep our kids inside. They're locked up and they don't really get to go outside. And if they go outside, they're only in the front yard. They're not really traveling. Like I said in the beginning, I lived on 100th. There would be times that I would be on 55th and my mom would have no idea. like, and she had no way of tracking me, no way of calling me because I didn't have a cell phone. So it's like she had a level of trust in me, though, that we had agreements that we had practiced and what to do and what not to do and where to be and how to cross the road and make sure that, we had a check-in process. Anytime I changed the house, she would say, grab a house phone, give me a call, let me know that you're at a new house. And that was our rule. And then if I had to be home at a certain time, it was like, as the old adage say, be home before the streetlights come on. Parents today are fearful of that process. And it's strictly because, again, the systems that we've put in place and the headlines that we're given without the article is changing our behavior practices. And I truly believe that. And I think it's because we don't know what we don't know. And because we gotten comfortable just receiving information and not vetting it, that there's going to always be misinformation in the world. And everybody talks about, oh, there's so much misinformation. We're not any different than any other generation. It's just amplified now because we have more access to it. But there's always been people in the world that are out here trying to provide knowledge that they know is not true, but it gives them the opportunity to do so. So that why not? Those people will always exist. But to do it from a place of monetizing it, now that is new. That is us. Again, that's adults. That is not children. We've decided to take TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and Snapchat and all other social media platforms, Twitch, whatever you want to use as your device, and decided to use that platform as a way of, instead of connecting people, dividing people. That wasn't a choice the child made. That was a choice that we made, and we've allowed it to be okay. So we can't be shocked if kids are now like, well, if my parents are always telling me about the crazies in the world, where is my incentive to want to go out into the world? Like, I don't blame the kids whatsoever if you haven't gotten that point by now. So I say all that because it leads me to wonder if this is who we are, then what is the change? What is the solution? So when I decided to leave my professional career and embark on this entrepreneurial journey, first thing I wanted to be able to do was one, understand why did I choose a career in the first place? Like, how did I even get there? Like, who encouraged me to get a job? Who encouraged me to show up on time, be accountable for my actions, make sure that I completed my work in a, that is satisfactory to those that supervised me. Once I became a supervisor, what did I do to help others grow, develop, etc. So there became a time where I had a platform within the organization that I worked for, and we would train individuals on how to sell the product. And I would sit there and I would say, this feels like the SAT. This feels like, long form text. This is not today. And a lot of the times I would sit there and I'm like, people are never going to absorb this because of the techniques that we're using to give it to them. It's not because they're incapable. It's not because they want to do the wrong thing. Of course, there's always going to be those individuals, excuse me for a second, that enjoy just messing around. Of course. But even those people, if you talk to them and just allow them to be themselves again and create a safe space, they'll tell you why. They're not shy. And especially in the sales environment, very confident individuals. So my point in bringing that up is I feel like instead of trying to do things that are new, because that requires change, and we all know how we feel about change, myself included, it is something that we don't naturally gravitate towards. And I know my grandfather is one of his favorite sayings is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I always challenged him because I would be like, how would you even know if it was broke? Like, what does broke actually look like? Like, and if it, are we waiting until it breaks? Like, are we not taking any type of proactive approaches? Because if it breaks and then we have to fix it, do we even know how? Because we've never played it out. And so that's always been in the back of my mind. Um, and so I'm a person that I like to break things. I like to break it. I like to put it back together. I like to see what happens when you do. So when I embarked on this entrepreneur journey, I recalled the very first thing that I was given, which was the platform to be able to train. And I thought about it and I was like, the formats, the structure, all of that is important, right? Because you want to make sure it's easy, repeatable, scalable, etc. All the terminology that we love. I get that. But because I have time and because this is something that I'm personally passionate about, let's break it. Let's figure out what happens. If you do, let's go a little step further and say, like, okay, if we go all the way down this rabbit hole, like, what does that look like? And so I broke some systems. And I'm not ashamed to admit it. And the reason I did so was because I feel like in order for us to truly see if it aligns with our today and if it's going to truly benefit our tomorrows, then we got to do it from the year that we're currently in, or at least the decade that we're currently in. Um, Things that we would recall research from all the time from like the 1970s, 1980s, super intelligent individuals. But if you ask the average person to name one researcher today, because again, another system that's broken. We don't glorify our researchers at all. Like we make their lives 10 times harder, and the academia world is hypercritical of each other. And it's like I would love to know who the Michael Jordan of is of every single industry. Like I always thought that that was crazy that we don't highlight these individuals on a global scale. And when we do, it's it's a highfalutin type of experience. It's not a, oh, I could turn on the TV like ESPN and just see a anchor talking about, oh, this person made this breakthrough today in science. You know, the news kind of does that, but it's still not amplifying these people. Like to me, some of our greatest minds should be on a Beyonce Taylor Swift level because of what they bring to the world. But because entertainment trumps education in a lot of cases, and because the educational system, again, is ridiculously critical of each other, to me, it stops innovation. But that's another point. So when I think about it and I look at it, I ask myself, okay, if someone has to learn something, how long would it actually take them to learn a new skill? Well, people have already researched this. They've been researching this since pretty much since the beginning of time. And so all the things that I was able to find, I was like, oh, there's an actual like clock. There's an actual time. Like somebody actually knows. So then I kept going and I was like, well, what is the best way? Like, what is like, how do we figure out is like, what do we know? Is it a book? Is it a video? Is it, this, that, or the other? Like, what's the medium? And come to find out that it's immersion. And when you immerse a human brain into a particular topic, your retention rate is almost quadruple of what it would be if you read a book. Which I was just like, well, how long have we known this? And again, systems are crazy that we live in, and we've known this for generations. And I'm just like, so we've had people consistently learn this way, which we know is inefficient, and we have this other process that is way more efficient. And if the goal was to learn the information, why would we take the harder route? And so when you ask yourself these questions, you're just start. I came up. I had a whole list like on that wall over there. I'm sorry, point the wrong way. That wall over there. There was tons of post-it notes, and people that have worked with me in the later years of my professional career, they know that I had gotten very comfortable with just writing questions and sticking them to post-it notes. And I was doing that for professional reasons at first, but then I continued that process on this journey. And I was just started asking all the questions. And I was just like, well, I wonder who's my tribe? Who are the people out here actively looking this stuff up? And so I've found so many of you that are on LinkedIn that I've connected with and talked to and picked your brain. And I appreciate you guys dedicating some time to this because I know it's been crazy. And the questions that I've asked have been kind of like out there, but I haven't felt happier on the inside more than ever. And I feel like my brain is like firing in ways it's never fired before. I'll be honest. So, with that being said, I took the time and I started this journey last April, and it's now March, so I'm coming up on a year. And in the first couple months, I just went down answering all these questions. So, I get back to immersion. The reason I chose to create a organization that focuses on virtual reality education is for a few reasons. Number one, it is the most efficient way to teach a person. um, when you immerse, as we know today in 2026, if you immerse a human brain in any type of knowledge, it doesn't have to just be NASA, it could be anything, as simplified as being able to cook dinner at night. You have a way of retaining the knowledge at a 70% clip. Now, let's talk statistics because I'm a numbers guy. From the research that I found and talking to many of you, reading a book on average, you retain 10 to 15% of the information of that book. Watching a film or a movie, or a TV show or YouTube videos or anything like that, it's 20 to 30% of the information is retained. When you immerse somebody in knowledge, they are retaining 70 plus percent of the information. Now ask yourself, since we like comparisons and we like to compete and we like to say that we're the best at everything that we do, why are we asking our children to experience knowledge from a level that we know only gives them the capability of maxing out on a good day at 15% of the information? Just ask yourself that. And then compare yourselves to the statistic that you complain about, like reading scores, or these kids don't understand cursive and all the other things that we say the kids are lacking today, right? How many of us as adults have completed our scholastic journeys and look back and have said, man, I wish I would have known this then? That is a common question that I ask all the time when I travel. What are the things that you wish you would have known then? It's very easily answered because people just, when you ask it, they just give it out. Like it's no big deal. It's like, oh my God, I wish I would have known this, or I wish I would have known that. I wish. And then you go, okay, well, let me ask people that are not my age. Let me ask people that are older than me. Like, and I just kept going up until I met this young lady. She was 98 years old. And I asked her this question, and she just spewed out so much knowledge. Like it was just like somebody uncorked a bottle of champagne because it just came out of her. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And she was telling me all of this stuff, like this, that. And she was like relationships and friendships and, how to do my money and how to, become a homeowner. And I would have started my business earlier and all, like, I mean, it was so much coming out of her, and I would have been a better mother. And like, it was so much. And I was like, man, I just was like taken back because these are the keys to me life. It's like, if we all know this stuff to be true and we all get to a certain age and we look back on life and we say, man, I wish I could have did this, or I wish I would have known this, why are we asking the next generation to struggle? Like, because that's essentially what we're doing. Like, you guys all have real life knowledge that is beneficial to the next generation. And there is no proven facts that exist today, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, that says you need to struggle in order to enjoy living on Earth. And if we're going to have all of this technology and all these things and tools to our disposal that no other generation has ever had, why are we consistently asking people to struggle? So I bring that up because it really had me thinking about, well, what would be the solution? And that solution, I believe, is the goods virtual world. So I'm going to explain to you what the goods is, but I'm also going to continue to tell you why I built it. So, because I know immersive now education is the best, I wanted to make sure that it was coming from a perspective that won't cause us to reject it and someone says later on, oh, this guy was ahead of his time. Like, because we've all said that too. We've all said, oh, this technology, if it would have came out then, people would have used it. Well, I do think there's a truth to that. But I do think the reason that exists is because of the narratives that are attached to it. So when I went down the journey of creating the goods, one of the things I wanted to make sure I understood was human capital and the impacts of it, right? So right now in our world, people are consistently going back and forth on, is AI good? Is AI not good? Is it going to ruin the world, or is the kids going to be? Is it going to cause more harm than good, et cetera, et cetera? So I was like, well, let me find out. Is AI really good or is it bad? And in order for me to do a case study, I went back to the beginning of my life, and I was the internet baby. So when I was in fifth grade, we got our first computer, and I'll never forget my mom and my stepdad, God rest his soul. They were concerned about putting a computer in our home because they felt like it was going to be a huge distraction. We already had video games because me and my older brother, we would go crazy on video games for hours. Still played outside, but we would definitely no difference than the kids today. We would game and game and game. I mean, even to me, a little bit more hardcore than the kids today because we didn't have the capabilities to, have play virtually together. We had to actually be in the same physical location, so we would have to take turns, and you lose, you got to pass the sticks. But again, I digress. So their concern was, do we put a computer in the home? We were able to get a computer, um, and everybody kind of used it in their own way. And I remember my brother using it to burn CDs, which I enjoy doing too, because before that we used to have to take a cassette tape, put it in the radio, and press record every single time the top 10 played, so we could have all the best songs on our cassette. So it was like burning before burning existed. We used to do that all the time, and I had tons and tons of cassette tapes. And then when we had CDs, we just did the same thing. So that was how he used it. I started to realize, like, well, this thing called the internet allows me to just get information that a teacher wasn't going to be able to provide me, or a question that I wouldn't get answered in school. So let me see what I can do. And I used to, every night, I used to be on the computer, just going to different websites, trying to see what existed. I did some chat rooms that I should definitely not have done it as a fifth grader, for sure. AOL had all the chat rooms, if you guys remember, and I used to try to go in there and just see what the adults were talking about. But that gives you more insight of who I am. And so I would see the conversations, and I would look, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like these people are doing this. And they were so comfortable sharing information. And if everybody talks about, oh, privacy this, privacy that, if you were in the internet era, which majority of you guys are, you understand that it was very common to do this. Put your name, your sex, your age, and your location in abbreviation. That was common. People all through the chat rooms would always be like 32 female from Ohio, or 27 male from California. Like it would be like right there. So I don't understand how we panic today, because I mean that's a whole different rabbit hole too. But that's what we initially started with the internet. And then as the internet evolved, you got more and more websites. And I remember this website called Chat Roulette. And if you guys have ever heard of it, and if you never heard of it, look it up because it was wild. Like you could literally go on this website, and if you had a webcam, your webcam would instantly turn on, and on the screen would be a little square, and it would literally roulette you through people around the world that were also on the website. And I mean, the things that we would see as kids was crazy. I mean, it would be naked people, people doing things that they should not be doing on the internet, et cetera, et cetera. But then there would also be people that were just really hungry for communication and connection and talking. So it was a wild, wild west, is my point, the internet in itself. And when you read the headlines back from the late 90s, early 2000s, it's very similar headlines to what we're seeing today with artificial intelligence. It's no different. This is just our era. Like, we're now the adults. We had the capabilities of knowing what it was like as a kid, and for some reason we were forgetting that. I feel like, because the world is gonna continue to innovate, as it should, in my opinion, because it's supposed to make our lives easier to live on the planet, is what the goal is. Now, how people use these platforms and how people use these tools is why I focus on the system, because I'm not here to change anyone's actual like lifestyle. But what I am here to is to bring attention to the system that we create that allows the tools to either flourish or the tools to become problematic. We would all, if we had the ability again to do that global vote, I don't think anybody's going to vote get rid of the internet. I think we use it for so many things now that it's just it's like it's in the fabric of the world, and that goes for not just America, that's everywhere. Because when I travel, there's internet everywhere. So I don't think that will ever go away. I don't think artificial intelligence is ever going to go away. Once now that we understand the capabilities of it and what it can do and how it could benefit us. I mean, just in corporate America alone, you guys are all adding it to your to your email prompts, and it's doing all the work that we know we never enjoy doing, which is responding to 1,000 different emails about information that we could probably solve in a 2-minute conversation. But again, I digress. But that is becoming part of the world. But the headlines are what's concerning, because we've already done this before. We've already said that this is going to take all the jobs, which that's what we said about the internet. Oh, the internet's going to come out and everybody's going to be homeless and all the jobs are going to be gone and everybody's going to be struggling and it's just going to be the worst thing possible. And there was truth to that. A lot of jobs did go away post internet, but also a lot of jobs got created. And I think what scares us the most is the fact that our tomorrows are not explained. So it's hard to live in our todays. And when you create a system of just providing headlines, you have people going through their tomorrows unsure about life. And it makes a very stressful situation. Um, and you talk about learning from the past, like this is, to me, it's like our generation has no excuses to not learn from the past because we have the past. Like we can truly try and time travel. Like we are the first generation that has the capability of time travel. And what I mean by that is there's so much information out there, good or bad, that we can gather from a time period that we were not a part of, where previous generations, their history books were very limiting. Their research abilities are very limiting, where ours is very vast. Like we can access so many things if we wanted to. But the reason we don't do it is another reason why I created the Goods Virtual World. So I timed myself, and I feel I can consider myself pretty solid on being able to research a particular topic. And I also did my own independent research on this as well. But then I also went into saying, okay, who are the other people that have done this before? So I timed myself and I use the internet all the time for research. And it took me 26 minutes and some change to truly get to a point using Google, YouTube, all the platforms that we use every day, to be able to get information that was practical, something that I could actually take action on. Um, and then I did some more digging and found out that on average, there's research out there that says it takes 33 minutes to truly do a Google search that gives you actionable information. And what I mean by that is if you're trying to, for example, learn how to invest, that's a hot topic right now, right? Financial literacy. A lot of the people out there are consistently preaching it, which is great. Problem is, I don't have the ability to know what happens next. If I watch a TikTok video or Instagram video of somebody telling me about the stock market, but I've never actually experienced it before, I'm not retaining that that information. And it sounds cool. it sounds like, oh yeah, man, it's yeah, like my parents never got in the stock market, so I'm going to get in the stock market. But this is where financial advisors cringe because they sit there and they're like, oh, they don't even know the half of it. But this is where I cringe because the financial advisors have the information and yet they're allowing people to get online and consistently say things that they know not to be true. So it's kind of like, all right, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. But at the same time, it's like, you guys know this and yet you haven't stepped up to the plate to be able to really provide guidance. Um, and then I heard the thing. So you guys remember the GameStop saga, right? So when the GameStop saga took place, I was one of those retail investors, as they called us, right? And I invested in GameStop. And I'll be honest with you, I had no idea what I was doing. No clue whatsoever. I was just like everybody else, probably just following the trend. And it really had me sit there afterwards, and I was just like, I never take this approach to any other thing in life. So why am I over here doing this when I don't know anything about it? And when I started trying to figure out, like, okay, how can I teach myself? How can I teach myself? It was so much information that existed, but it was so gate kept. Like it was like pay 129.99 for this class or sign up for this executive course from such and such university and it's $2,500 or do this and it's like I just got an email yesterday to do a CEO course at Duke University. It's $25,000. I was just like, you guys are not giving the fountain of youth here. Like, how did we get here? How do we get to the point where you feel like somebody that's hungry for knowledge, they should have to break their bank in order to get it? Like, come on, people. Like, we're better than that. And so we sit there and we complain about all the misinformation, but yet we don't create a safe space for the information to be shared. And we are okay with it. We're just like, hey, there's some people that should know things and people that shouldn't. And it's like, how, what? Like, take that global vote. Like, I highly doubt everybody's out here saying that, like, oh yeah, we want to hoard information on purpose. And I could be naive, but I just feel like that's crazy. But again, digress. So back to the point I was making. So I was sitting there and I looked at it and I was wondering, like, why is it so long to be able to find information on a platform that is used around the world, like Google and YouTube? Like, it should not take me that long to be able to get to an actionable step, like to be able to draw a starting line and a finish line and know where to go. And I've always been a fan of Google's homepage. I always thought that was so innovative to just have a search bar because it just makes you feel like the world is your oyster and you could just put anything in there and you could just everything is just going to be at your fingertips. But then I started realizing, like, okay, that was cool 30 years ago or 20 years, however long it's been now. But now, in a world where I already have so many things at my fingertips and so many different ways to source knowledge, why are we still using the same way? Well, that's because no one's ever challenged it. Everybody assumes that that's the way. Like, that's how it's supposed to be. That's how it's always been. So, this is what we do. When you type in something as simple as how to build a shelf into your Google search bar, I challenge everybody watching this to do so. The amount of information that pops up for such a simplistic task is mind blowing. Part of it's cool because that means a lot of people care about building shells. Awesome. But Google as a platform is not making it easy on you. And so when I realized that, I was just like, well, this is probably why people don't do their own independent research because it sounds hard, it's cumbersome, it's time consuming. It's all the things that we don't already have time for in a day. Like, again, if you're working 40 hours a week, if you have a family, and majority of us do, and if you have any type of social life for that matter too, when are you going to have find time to sit down and dedicate a few hours a day to be able to understand what you don't understand. It's highly unlikely. And people are cool with that. And I just find that fascinating because when you think about it, the things that we complain about the most all go back to the lack of knowledge. Like, we won't get to certain places if people knew about it already. We won't have certain issues if people understood what was going on. But the fact that we enjoy living in the dark, I don't know. I've just found it very interesting to me. So I decided, how could you potentially make that experience more enjoyable, one, more efficient, two, but also creating an opportunity to where there's the proverbial yellow brick road to where I know if I start here, I finish here. And so that's how I came to the point of virtual reality simulations. So, what we do at the Goods Virtual World is, my objective is this: I want to do the research for you. I don't want you to have to spend 33 minutes of plus of your time in your day that I know is precious to you, because that could be time you could be spending with your kids. It'd be time you could be out in the garden. That's time you could be taking walks. Like, you don't need to be inundated with having to sit behind a computer screen in order to learn something that is so simplistic. I mean, just simple things like filling out your health insurance forms or figuring out how to get a recipe for dinner tonight. Like, all these things should come at you very quickly. It should not take much effort. And I think that was the reason that AI was released to the general public, because the goal there was to kind of, what I always tell people when I describe AI, it's like you're giving somebody a calculator for life. It's like, we wouldn't do complex math problems today without a calculator. Like, it doesn't make us any stupider. It doesn't make it any more dangerous. It allows us do to fix the limitations of our human brain, which is, no matter how smart you are, there's certain things that we're just not capable of doing. There's a certain amount of information that we're just not capable of holding at one time. So, if used properly, a calculator is a very beneficial tool, and I feel like everybody would agree. Well, AI could be the same way. I think what people are afraid of is, oh, well, there's a lot of information that's on there that may not be true. And that's 100% accurate. Your AI is not going to give you all the facts. It's not going to be 100%, safe and all that jazz that we want, because it's version one. It's the internet. The internet was not a safe place when it first came out. You got to give it time, and it's going to get better. But at the same time, too, what I do appreciate for those that worked on the AI project and brought it out to the general public is they tried to put safeguards in there. It's still the Wild Wild West, yes, but at the same time, they did learn from the internet release that there are certain safeguards that they did put in place. And so you do, as a user, have the capability of fact checking your AI. Now, again, that's a step that most won't take, because we're an instant gratification type of species. We want that. We want it right now, and it wants to be accurate, and it better be right, or else we're going to complain. That's what I learned from customer service too. Um, but at the same time, there's ways around providing good customer service, and there's also ways around sourcing knowledge. So, back to the point about human capital. So, with the Goods Virtual World, I understood that humanity had to be almost removed from the equation in order for the knowledge to be sourced and understood. And what I mean by that is, obviously there's humans providing and creating the research and doing all the work, so that's not getting replaced. But we have gotten to a point to where we struggle to believe facts, not just the lies, just the facts too, when it's coming from a human being. because we want to know each other's backstories. We want to make sure they have the right credentialing. We want to make sure that they spent hours in some dark lab somewhere with thousands of paperworks all around them and all these different tests that they've done to ensure that everything that they're saying is 100% true, or at least 99.9% true. Um, and we believe that's what we deserve. And I agree. Problem with that is you create again a system that promotes burnout. Like, think about a researcher's journey. They don't deserve to have to sit there and do all these things in order to impress us. Like, the fact that they are passionate enough to even care about something that we all could care about, like, that should be enough for us. They shouldn't have to sacrifice their family time. They shouldn't have to sacrifice their social life. They shouldn't have to sacrifice if they're eating tonight. Like, these are things that we're very ungrateful to all the researchers that exist in the world to bring us these technologies. Like, these are people that have historically not been taken serious unless there's some guy or gal that has put hours and hours and hours into a particular subject matter, which again also limits them, because if I'm really good at one thing, I'm probably good at 1,000. And so if I can only have to dedicate my life to this one particular topic, think about the things that I'm not dedicating my time to. And if I have the capability and the intellect to be able to learn like how I learn and how to research how I research, I'm way more useful if you free up time for me to do more things. There's so much more that these individuals have the capability of doing, but we've limited their lifestyles because we feel like that is the way it has to be. It is not anymore. And that's what AI helps. We'll glorify Tony Stark in the movie Iron Man for using Jarvis to build all these things that are cool in the movie and do all this stuff. And we're all fascinated, or any Star Wars movie or any type of sci fi movie. And we're just like, wow, that's amazing. But then we start getting things that represent those type of environments. And now all of a sudden we want to bash it. I don't know. I think that's crazy. So that's what I mean when I say that the human capital needs to be removed from the equation, because the one thing about AI, and the reason I use AI avatars, and the reason I really haven't done a lot of this to where my face is out there and I'm vlogging and telling you guys about everything that's going on with the journey, strictly is because of the fact that I have a life. I'm a dad. I don't want my kids out there having to live in a lifestyle to where, you know, they're consistently having people at school say your dad's this, your dad's that, and all this other. Like, no, they don't deserve that. They deserve to be kids, live. Like, I'm not out here trying to do this for celebrity. I'm doing it because I understand that this is important, that you guys should have an efficient way to source knowledge. So I chose to use AI avatars. Regardless if you agree with them or not, that's completely fine. Regardless if the voices match or if they look generic or whatever. I mean, if Mickey Mouse can look like Mickey Mouse and you guys all love and adore Mickey Mouse, the AI avatar shouldn't bother you. I mean, if you look at early sketches of Mickey Mouse and look at Mickey Mouse today, he evolved, or she, whatever. I don't know if Mickey Mouse has a gender or not, but the mouse evolved. So we are in the beginning stages. So I want to put that out there that yes, things will get better. But the reasoning for using the avatars is strictly just because they remove your ability to truly judge this as an individual person. And that is one of the biggest flaws I feel like we have in society since the beginning of time, from research that I found, is we just enjoy judging each other. I mean, when I was in sales, one of the biggest things we taught was don't prejudge the customer. And the fact that that even had to be taught was weird to me, because I'm like, why would I prejudge a stranger I know nothing about? But I would see coworkers and I would see other companies do it. And I was just like, okay, now I see. And I've experienced it. I've been prejudged multiple times in my lifetime. So I can no longer say it doesn't exist. Let's say that. So I didn't want that to be part of it because I wanted the focus to be on the education and on the knowledge because I do believe you guys deserve it. So another reason why I built it was because clarity is missing. We have, again, so much information available to us, but no one's presenting it in a way that is, again, that yellow brick road, clear path, start, finish. This is what you do. This is how you do it, step by step, like a recipe. I actually wrote a book that is full of recipes of systems. Um, Shameless plug. But anyways, that that is the major thing that I wanted to accomplish. And I started with NIL as the very first simulator. Reasoning for that is I have an athletic background. It's an easy space for me to talk about. I'm still coaching today, so I'm actually in that space with the youth. So it was very important for me to make sure that their information, because again, these are children, and all the way up until, at least in our country, 18, you're still considered a child. So they deserve clarity. They should not be preyed upon. They should not be, taken advantage of. And when you get a landmark decision like the NCAA did with allowing athletes to gain monetary, be able to gain revenue from their name, image, and likeness, I think it's one of the things that you could sit on either side of the fence on. It's like, oh, it's ruining sports, or hey, it's beneficial. I look at it from this perspective. I don't sit on either side of the fence. I played collegiate athletics. I do value the fact that, we had the capabilities of continuing our journeys. I wasn't fortunate enough to be on scholarship my entire time playing sports. So I do understand the struggles that come along with it for just the joy of playing the game. I had a job, and I had basically, in my eyes, when I was in college, I had three jobs. I worked at Champ Sports, as previously mentioned. I also had to get an education because my mom was like absolutely crazy about my grades, which I appreciate her for, by the way. Like, I thought that was great for her to make me focus on my education. So thank you, mom and dad and grandparents, everybody else in the family too. And I also had to show up to practice and play. Now I had teammates that all they had to worry about was baseball, and then secondary was education. And I used to be so envious. I used to be like, man, I wish I could live that lifestyle. Like, but if I do that, I won't have food to eat. So I gotta be able to do that. You guys are getting free meals. I'm not. You guys are getting, things taken care of for your dorms and your apartments. I'm not. So that part, I used to be like, this sucks. But at the same time, I do feel like I was robbed of an experience that I could have had because the rules were not in place. Like, I would have loved the opportunity because I have no problem promoting. I have no problem selling. I've always been a salesperson from the core since probably day one. And so I would have loved to be able to go to Champs and say, hey, I would love to do a promotional spot for the store if you guys want to kick me some cash, and I would get away with it for not having to worry about some adult telling me I'm suspended. Like, I would have loved that opportunity. So I understand that side of the story. I do understand the competitive side too, to where, yes, kids are now giving latitude to be able to change and pick the schools they went to and all the other stuff. But I feel like that's always been the case. I transferred three times. Like, I went to three different universities in undergrad trying to find my home. And I don't think it hindered me. I don't think it prevented me from becoming a better person, or some of these coaches are out here saying that like, oh, the goal is education. I passed all my classes. I took extra classes. I went to like, and it was just me just doing that on my own. It wasn't required of me. And I'm not saying everybody's me or everybody wants to think like that, but at the same time, I think it's very dangerous for us to put every athlete in this bucket. And even if you consider yourself talking about the majority and not the minority, again, there's no global vote taking place to where every single athlete on the planet gets a say. You guys are adults speaking for children. So I wanted the kids to be able to have a place to where they can source the knowledge for themselves in a quick, fun, enjoyable way. And then if they can at least have the knowledge to when they are in these rooms and they do have the opportunity to speak for themselves, they're speaking the same language as those that are speaking against them. Because one of the things that separates generations a lot of the times is an adult's intellect is just going to be advanced just off of life experience alone compared to a child. And it's not because a kid can't process the information in some cases, especially at college age. Like, I would challenge that my brain was processing just as fast, if not faster, than some of the people that were older than me. And so if we've accepted, us mixing generations in a university setting in general, then why would we not be able to start at the same place? And I think, I've always been a big collaborator, and I think that it's very important for these young adults to have the capability of understanding the language and the system and what it means and what people are actually challenging behind closed doors that they're not a part of. All these meetings that are taking place versus on what's best for the kids and what's best for the athletes. But yet people are not actively asking the athletes. That's how the system stayed as the way it was for as long as it did. I mean, I think about athletes all the time, like, Tim Tebow, Reggie Bush, just common people that have Johnny Manziel, like, regardless of how you view each one of those individuals as people, the amount of money that they've generated for a school is unbelievable. I mean, the University of Florida, the USC, and Texas A&M, like, their programs were literally built with the popularity of some of these athletes that have graced their halls and their fields. So let's create a system that allows both sides to one start from the same place. Like, again, the adults have so much more knowledge than the athlete right now. And to me, that is just not fair, because it's, what other game would we ever play where I'm a part of the game as a player, but I don't know the rules? Like, we don't sign up for that in any other aspects of life. So that's why I started with NIL. And our first simulator is pretty much completely done. You guys may have seen some of the clips on my LinkedIn page or TikTok or Instagram. And the main process was this: I wanted to source information from three places. So the first place was scientific research. So all the sports psychologists, all the information that I could find from behavioral practices and anything that had to do with research inside of academia, I ripped it apart. I went all through it, found everybody that I could find. I found some of you on LinkedIn, and I was able to connect and interview you, which I appreciate you. Um, and I wanted to make sure that we were sharing as much of that knowledge as we could. I also used artificial intelligence to format it all for me to be able to make sure that it's presented in the cleanest possible way. So that way it is reaching that 70% retention rate that I know we could get with virtual reality. And then thirdly, I wanted lived experience. So I interviewed coaches, agents. I talked to the NFLPA. I talked to the NCAA. I talked to people from my alma mater, Indiana, and my alma mater, St. Joe's. And just my own experience right now coaching, I wanted to make sure all of that information was included. And we funneled that all together. and we created a 20-minute virtual simulation experience. Inside of this experience, our goal was simple, was to make sure that you're not going to walk away an expert, but you'll walk away conversational. And what I mean by that is if you're in a room with experts and they start speaking that technical language that we all know that we love to do as adults because we want to make it confusing and complex for no reason. Um, but they start speaking that language, that legal jargon, as we like to say, the fine print, as we like to say, you've at least heard it once. And so that way you'll know where to source it. Because inside of the simulation, we have a way of you playing it out. Like if you guys that are internet babies like me and remember the game The Sims, we wanted to make sure there was a life simulation aspect to it to where you play it out. So inside the simulation, you're going through a journey, start to finish, and the goal is to get a brand deal. So you're gonna make several life choices. So one of the things in there is, hey, if should you post your workout or should you post yourself drinking at a party? Or there's stuff in there like, hey, should you go to this particular diet plan or go to this particular diet plan? But we also made it engaging because it's virtual reality. We wanted you to get some body movements in there too. So there's some fun things in there we call mini games. And so, excuse me, one of the mini games is you're in a workout facility like all our athletes go to, and there's negative rhetoric flying at you, there's food flying at you, different things flying at you, and you got to dodge the good stuff and collect the bad stuff. I mean, dodge the bad stuff and collect the good stuff. And it's fun because again, it's just another way for you to understand the mental approaches that athletes have to experience. When you're in a workout facility, we carry a lot of things with us to it. Sometimes it's life stress. Majority of the time it's life stress. Other times it's the desire to be great. But while I'm lifting, while I'm doing whatever I'm doing inside the workout facility, you listen to my favorite tracks, whatever the case may be, I'm mentally processing and looking forward to my future. And that's what motivated me 9 times out of 10 to be there. So we wanted to incorporate that. We wanted to understand, we wanted the audience, parents in particular, to understand like, hey, when I'm working out, I'm still thinking about the time that you were upset at me. I'm still thinking about my girlfriend breaking up with me or my boyfriend breaking up with me. I'm still thinking about the Instagram post I saw from ESPN saying I wasn't good enough, or all that stuff is still part of the experience. So we wanted to incorporate that because it's real. And so that is in there as well. The other thing that I'm very proud of is the library. So if you notice today, the numbers of people going to the library has gotten really bad. And that's globally. People don't go and hang out in libraries like they used to. And then part of the reason is because it's like I have a computer in my pocket every day. So it's like I don't really need to go look at the books. But we wanted to bring the library back in a fun way. So inside of our every simulator for that matter, but inside the NIL simulator, there's a library in there. And inside that library, you can source all the knowledge regarding the particular topic that you want. But how you source it is you don't have to go searching for it. You don't have to spend 33 minutes trying to figure out where do I start, where do I finish. We start for you and we create a finish line for you as well. So as you go through and source the information, it starts off at a very novice level. We wanted to make sure that we weren't over talking anybody, so everything starts at a fifth grade level. And as you go deeper through the simulation, as you do it more and more times, it will make sure that that information gets harder. And so it goes all the way through legal jargon, like I said, the fine print, everything that you could possibly spend. I spent months and months and months making sure that anything NIL was involved is in that library. So that way, an athlete and a parent can, because we also want parents to use it too. So that way, you guys are all talking from the same place. And so that's kind of how the library works. But then we also have the social component. because we also know social media is part of the experience as well. So you got to do certain things and you get invites to parties and social events, et cetera, et cetera. That's in there. And then we also put a mental health component in there because one of the biggest things, as we know, has been very hot topic over the last 5, 10 years is athletes' mental health. And realistically, for me, mental health is everything. I have been in some places mentally myself that I know that, hey, it's like you kind of get stuck in this hole and you're trying to figure out where do you go from here and how do you go, what's up, what's down, what's left, what's right. So we wanted to make sure that, we are training our future athletes to be able to embrace the relaxation side of mental health and the meditation side of mental health. So we did add that in there to where it's a cool little mini game, but it walks you through the ability to kind of just understand the meditation and making sure that you include this in your regimen regardless of how you choose to do it. It could be something as simple as just talking to a best friend, but we want to make sure that you have some outlet that you understand that this should be part of your routine. The whole simulation, guess what? It's only 20 minutes. So we beat Google on average by 13 minutes. So that was something I was really proud of as well, because I didn't want it to be, like I said, I don't want this long, laborious experience that's going to take you forever to be able to do it. So I wanted to make sure that you had the capability of doing it quickly. So we're shorter than your average TV show, which is another thing. So if you guys can spend, 30, 45 minutes watching a show, an episode, then you can spend 20 minutes educating yourself is how I see it. So that was the first simulator. That is not officially released yet. It will be released on the metaverse. We will have it available. I'm planning on going on a little mini promotional tour myself, but ideally, I'm a creator. I want to sit back and keep building the rest. But I understand that somebody has to be the face of this in order for it to take off. That's just another one of those red tape things that we've created as a system in this world. In order for something to kind of get out there, somebody has to put it out there. So I understand that. That makes perfect sense. So I'm going to do that and get the ball rolling here shortly. But I wanted to kind of give you a preview of what's to come. So I have 70 simulators planned out. I built the frameworks for every industry because the goal of the company is this. We should no longer have to guess or make mistakes or go broke trying to figure out what our steps are in life. There's so many people that have already done it prior to us, like the 98-year-old lady I was speaking of earlier. You know, just talking with her gave me so much clarity, just one conversation. And, that's another thing, sidebar is, we don't talk to our elders enough. People that have more life experience than you should definitely have value. But that's another conversation too. Say that for another day. But yeah, so those are things that I wanted to make sure people had the capability of doing. So the goal of the platform is going to be, is this. We want to make sure that if you're a high school student and you're trying to figure out what college route you want to take or whatever entrepreneurial route you want to take, whatever your after high school life looks like, we don't want you to have to guess anymore. We want you to try it first. So we're building simulators for you to be able to say, hey, I've always wanted to be a doctor, but I don't know what being a doctor's like. I don't want you to go learn how to dissect the brain and the heart. All that stuff is great for all my A and P people out there. But there's components of that lifestyle that we don't share, and they're very important. And a lot of people burn out because they weren't prepared. I was pre-med myself in undergrad, and until I started working in the hospital as an internship when I was in Indiana, I didn't realize that wasn't, I was like, I don't want this. Like, I appreciate all the people that can do it. I just personally, I couldn't do it. It wasn't for a lack of knowledge. It was just for, it's a hard life to live. Like, that is like when I worked in the emergency room and saw what the emergency staff had to go through, and the limiting of the resources and the red tape that they had to do for simple stuff. And it's like, it hurt my heart. Like it was, I just, man, I applaud those people that can do that every day. That's a whole nother story too. But oh man, it hurt my heart because I'm the type of person I want to save everybody. I don't care if I have the medicine, I'm giving it to you. You can lock me up, throw me in jail, throw away the key. I don't care. But if I save a life, I save a life. That's kind of how I see it. Um, but yeah, so I want that individual to get the real version of these industries, and I want them to really understand like this knowledge is not just coming from the headlines. This is the article. These are people that are living within these industries, and they've provided wisdom. And so we put their wisdom in every simulator. That's why one of the three pillars is what I call GoodMind. That's taking knowledge from the people that are living this every single day, and I'm giving them an opportunity to give back by providing that knowledge to the next generation. So every single time I build one of these simulators, I am going to always interview people. I'm going to always ask for feedback. I'm going to always ask for input because one, I don't know everything and I would never will. But I do want to make sure that the next generation doesn't have to guess anymore. So if you guys are out there and you know you work in a particular industry and you're interested in contributing your knowledge, shameless plug again, please hit me up. I would love to put you into a simulator. We also have a monthly discussion that's beginning this month on March 25th that I'm going to continue to do live events to be able to have open forum chats to where I can again source my information from the people. So that was the first customer base that I wanted to focus on. Is like, hey, when you're in that trying to figure out what life looks like mode and you want to know what your next step should look like and how to pick, well, here's a quick 20-minute way you can try out everything. The next person that I really took into consideration are the people that took a path and maybe they had a original path and something derailed them from going down that path, or and it's something that they've always wished that they could do or go back to, but now they're so far down this other path that it just almost seems impossible. We thought about you for two reasons. One, just for you to at least say you can play it. Like I like it's like, hey, it's like even if you don't make the transition, like let's say I'm took the path, I wanted to be stick on the medical train. I wanted to be a doctor, but I ended up not being able to go to med school or couldn't afford it or whatever the case may be. But I know I'm smart enough and I know I have the passion for it. Well, great. I want you to still be able to live out that dream. So, regardless if you're going to do it in reality, you can at least do it in the virtual space. So, that's our medical simulator will be for you. Um, or if you're somebody that's, say, hey, I'm going to walk out on faith, I'm going to make a change, I want to make this transition, but I want to do it the most efficient way possible. What do I need to know and what am I getting myself into? This simulator will be for you. So that way you don't have to guess. You don't have to figure out and go down these conferences and paying all these people thousands of dollars to hear them speak about all these things. And you walk away and you're just like, that was exciting. I'm ready to go. And then you don't know where to start. So, and no knock to people that are professional speakers. Get your money. I'm not trying to bash you or anything like that. So before anybody twists my words, that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just saying from a clarity perspective, we could be a little bit more efficient on guiding people and understanding that, yes, if that is your source of income, cool. But let's just try to be considerate on our price points so that way the people that are hungry for this knowledge actually continue to be hungry for this knowledge. But yeah, that's another sidebar. Sorry. But yeah, so those people that are looking for a transition, you have the opportunity to test out any industry that you want that we have in our platform. And then that way you could just kind of find out where your passions lie because everybody knows when work is fun, you never work. And I think a lot of people get stuck going into jobs that they don't truly believe in what they're doing, but they have no choice because they got to make ends meet. Well, I'm trying to prevent that from having to be your lifestyle. If you want to stay what you're doing, great. But I don't think majority of people, at least I've talked to, we would rather have had a real efficient way of figuring out where we fit and who our tribe is and where, put your aces in their places, as they say. So that was the second one. The third one is our legacies. Um, I really do believe that we have an opportunity now to, because of technology, to all the individuals in the world that have gained so much knowledge and so much abilities and all these talents, and oh, it's just beautiful. I get so excited when I talk to, like I was saying, like the 98-year-old young lady that I spoke to. It was just so beautiful to hear her passion and her things that she cared about. Well, I don't want people to die with that knowledge anymore. You don't, there's no reason for you to only reach. So I found a research study. I don't know how truthful it is, but I share it with you guys. It said the average person doesn't truly affect more than 100 people in their lifetime. And I thought that was crazy because it's like, it makes sense though. When you think about how many people you interact with on a daily basis. And what I mean by what it said by impact is like you're pouring into these people. So I'm not saying that you didn't say one thing to somebody one random day at the grocery store and then you changed their life. Yeah, absolutely. Let's can keep doing that. I'm talking about like the type of knowledge that you would share with a family member or your kid. That type of knowledge, we don't typically reach that many people. And there's reasonings for it, yes, but it's not a requirement. No one's saying that you can't. We have all the tools available to us to be able to do so. So I just always felt like it was crazy. Like I would love, like if I could go on a nursing home tour and just talk to everybody that's over the age of 80 today, like the things that they've seen in their lifetime, just think about it. Like, I mean, you saw the civil rights movement, you saw the women's rights movement, you've seen the internet, you've seen AI. Like these people are just have a plethora of experience that, you know, we never really truly tap into. And I think it's a gold mine. So, I want to be able to give those people a place to where, hey, you can now share that knowledge in however you see fit. One other advantage to the AI avatars, which has been great, is a lot of the videos that I've made and put on my platforms. Some came from me, but some came from people I've talked to, and they just said, "Hey, I don't want my face to be on it, but you can take the knowledge though." And once I started doing that, I started realizing I was like, "Man, this is great! Like, at least the people are getting this information. And if they're reading it, they're reading it. They're listening, they're listening. But at least it's there and it's accessible to everybody. It's not getting gate kept. And so it's like those individuals, like I would love for them to contribute consistently because I think our legacy is the ability to pass information down. That's how civilizations get built. That's how we've done it since the beginning of time. You know, the elders held a special place in society. And I feel like today we've kind of just gotten away from that. Um, and it's been a lot of push and pull to between generations instead of just like, hey, we're respecting you because you've been here, you've done it, you've gone through the trenches, as they say. So I want those people to have a place to share that knowledge. So that's also a part of GoodMind, but it's also a part of every simulator as well. So when I do these industries, you know, we're going through all generations. We're going to look at it from the perspective of a teenager. We're going to look at it from the perspective of a young adult. We're going to look at it from the perspective of somebody in their 30s to 50s. We're going to look at it from somebody, you know, 70 to 90 or 100, whatever age may be. We want everybody to contribute. And I think that's one of the most important things that I feel like I could bring into the world. But I also feel like it is going to be one of the most impactful things for the next generation because now you're getting that true wisdom that we all yearn for. And it prevents us from having to, you know, feel like, oh man, I went to this networking event and I didn't get to bump elbows with the person I wanted to. And now I don't know what I don't know. And now I'm lost even more, like mentally, especially, and probably emotionally. That doesn't make sense, guys. Like, makes no sense no more. And talking about networking, that's a whole nother situation as well. But I read a stat that if you go to a networking event and there's 100 people in the room, typically you're only walking away with 3 to 5 people that you truly can say you can call the next day. That's crazy. That's ratio is terrible. Like we would never sign up for that. If that was your kids' grades, you guys would be up in arms. If they were 5 out of 100, like come on, man. Like those are things that I consider about life. These are things that I'm pouring into this platform, and I've made it my journey to be. This is where I feel like, my professional career is going to go. This is where I feel like I can give the most back into the world, to where I can be proud of who I am when my day comes to where I'm no longer here. I can be, my kids can have something to look forward to and say that, like, hey, at least my dad tried. So this is what the goods is all about. So what I'm at now, still pre-revenue. So I'm not charging anybody anything yet. So all the information that you guys have seen, if you watched it or read it, that's great. If you haven't, I encourage you to do so. We do have multiple ways for you to get the information. So if you're not a virtual reality person, I thought about you too. So we have a long form blog that will continue always. It's called the Good Blog. Inside of there is just, again, system oriented information that always has a start, always has a finish. We're not just kind of trying to add gasoline to a fire that already exists. We're coming from a place of solution. And regardless if that solution is the right solution, at least it's something different. So that's the Good Blog. You can find that on our website. You can find it thegoodsvirtualworld.com. You can find it on my LinkedIn account as well. So all that information is there for the blog, for my readers out there. I do have a YouTube channel that I am starting up. It's very minimal right now, but I'm making 3 to 5 minute AI avatar videos that some of you guys have seen. And again, the goal of those videos is to take a particular topic, make sure that you understand start to finish what it means, how you got here. And again, it's all about systems. It's no bashing of people, none of that. We strictly talk about the system itself. So, how do you play the game? And what I mean by that is we need an instruction manual to everything that we do, everything that we live in, but no one's ever really given it, even though it exists. So that's available for you as well. And then once funding comes, so if any of you guys are out there gracious and want to join the mission and want to contribute, I would gladly appreciate it, because I am a team of one. Right now, I have my friends that have been great support systems. I have my children that have been a great support system. My significant other has been a great support system. But monetarily, I have sunk everything that I have ever made in life into this, which I'm grateful for, because it's a great journey to be on. I encourage everybody to be an entrepreneur, because I think it's fun. I think it's fun to innovate. I think it's fun to try something new, quote unquote, get yourself out the status quo. And especially in a time right now where you have so many tools and things available to you. So I'm excited about that opportunity. But I understand, like, in order for this to really take off like it can, I would love some support. And the creme de la creme of this whole experience too, I want to share this because this is something that is going to be brand new for society. People have tried, they have not succeeded, but I figured out a way to make it work. We are not selling your data. So I'm going to spend the rest of this time wrapping this up, talking about this. The goods virtual world, and mark my words, so when this video is played 15 years from now, please make sure that you guys still throw it in my face once this becomes what it becomes, because I know it will, because God put this on my heart. uh, but we will never sell your data. I don't care how much money I need or what the company may need. That will never be the case, and this is why. It's not because selling your data is just so tragically wrong. It's because it goes back to, again, the athlete experience for me. It's, I'm contributing to the success of something, but I'm not getting any type of financial support from that contribution. And I personally drive a Tesla. And now the reason I did it wasn't to save the planet. it was just because gas in California is ridiculously expensive, and for my previous job, I had to drive between LA and San Diego almost every day, and it was just like I was gonna go broke or quit my job. So it was one or the other. So yes, I could have got any electric vehicle, but I'm the type of person that I will go with what's the most known at the time, and the Tesla had the most research available at the time, and not everybody had electric vehicles. I don't have to justify it. I know. I'm just. I don't want anybody to think anything about it because I understand I'm not aligned with their political views. But anyways, I drive that car every day. And the platform, for those that don't know, is they're able to collect driving data on me to improve their intelligence inside their systems for the self-driving aspect. Now, you pay, $50,000 plus for the vehicle, and then you're driving it every day, and you're helping a computer get smarter, which is great because it creates safety and all those things that we need, that driving data for people to make the road safe for the next generation. 100% on board for that. But at the same time, the trade-off is just that what I can say I drive your vehicle. Um, and that's all I can get for that. That makes no sense. Considering that you would, if everybody just stopped driving, then where are you collecting the data from? So you need support, and that support is giving you trillions and trillions of dollars. So why would it not give me 50 cents? You know what I'm saying? You're not even considering the idea of profit sharing. Um, and I just feel like that's the systems that we have consistently lived within. Every time you scroll on Instagram, every time you like a post, every time you do this, you're giving your data away for free. And to me, it's like, that's fine if that's what you feel comfortable doing. I mean, we've been kind of doing that since the beginning of capitalism. So it's not anything new. It's just elevated and easier for the companies to access it now than they ever have before. So with the goods, all this simulation data that you're going to get from going through the simulations and learning and developing, we're going to provide that to you, but it will never be shared out. And if it is to be shared out, we will compensate you for doing so. So I have a revenue share model for your data that a lot of people I know have been against this in the corporate world. But I feel like it makes, again, no sense because you're helping me, so I need to help you in some way too. So I 100% believe an industry and an economy should exist of data sharing, where you can literally make money off of who you are as a person. And that, what I mean by that is not just content creation, but just literally just your data. So what we will do is, if you have data that you would like to share that helps our simulations get better, you will automatically get a percentage of the returns, that will go straight to you to do whatever you want with, and it's your money. Take it, leave it, whatever you want to do. But it'll allow you to make sure that you're getting compensated in a fair way. And then on top of that, I'm not going to tell you exactly what that number is. I'm going to give you the opportunity to negotiate it. So if you feel like, hey, I deserve $1,000 for every time I try a simulation. If you could sell it, you could sell it, man. Go for it. Um, and it may be something that, hey, it prevents us from growing into a Google, YouTube S type size, Meta type size company, which is 100% okay with me. And I know investors out there are cringing on all of this right now, so I keep cringing because I'm going to continue. Um, but I'm not doing this for that. I literally live a very modest lifestyle. I enjoy living this lifestyle. I like being able to go to my local grocery store and no one knows who I am. That's just who I am as a person. I enjoy my kids being able to go to school and no one's, like I said earlier, coming at them about who their dad is. Like, I enjoy that. And I want to keep it that way as much as possible. Um, but I do understand that like this platform is going to be great. It's literally going to be something that you guys are going to love, and when you get the chance to fully see the full extent of it, oh, it's going to be amazing for you because all the things that you've always questioned, we're going to have answers for, and how to just make your tomorrows better because you're going to have the capability of just knowing where to start and where it could finish. So yeah, so data sharing is going to be completely up to the user. Also, we are going to have a contribution model as well, to where if you want to be a contributor, like the legacy that I was talking about earlier, or just, hey, I want to contribute my knowledge, and this is what I want to do, we'll give you contribution credits. Hopefully, academia will accept it one day as saying, hey, you can get, awards and things of that nature. I would love, absolutely love to be able to create a system to where we now have an MVP teacher, MVP doctor, MVP lawyer, MVP janitor, and no matter what industry it is. Like you guys, we all know these people every day, but they don't get the notoriety that they deserve, and some of them like absolutely deserve it. I want to do that. So inside of our platform, we have something called the Good Network, and that's going to be media that is going to be 100% controlled by the education that we're providing. So inside of that, my plan is that we're going to eventually be able to share, the success stories that our users are giving, and the success stories of our contributors are giving, and we want to have like a fantasy league for everybody. Like it's like I think about it all the time. I play fantasy football every year, and it's like, man, I always think like how cool would it be if like we had a fantasy sports league for every industry? Like why does it just have to be sports? Like why can't it be everything else? Like I think it would be cool to be able to say like, you're putting up top CEOs against each other, and the decisions that they make on a daily basis, they get a certain point value. Like I think all that would be great. But that's just me being me. So yeah, so we plan on having the Good Network be a part of the platform as well. Also, we are inside the virtual space, inside the Good Network. We are going to promote the knowledge and the news in a way that is strictly always fact checkable. And what I mean by that is not saying that the news is not fact checkable today. It's just that because of time and because of limitations, there's a lot of things that get skipped over. So, like I said, I grew up outside of Chicago. Certain areas of our country gets a really bad rap in the media, and it's consistently, and I think it drives down property values consistently. And like my childhood barbershop was in the south side of Chicago for a long time. And my church that my mom attends is in South Holland, Illinois. And we would spend a lot of time in that area. And I understand that there's a lot of political backlash that area gets. I understand that crime rates are higher in certain parts and pockets, but again, it's like the grass cutting um, idea that I was speaking above in the beginning of this. Like, you can't tell me that you draw a line between a city and report that this city is bad and this side of the city is good. Like, and all this side of the city has professional sports teams and business and all this money. And then you have the same city with the same, the same name. It's still Chicago. And then the other side gets all this negative reporting and all the businesses are gone. And like, I just find it. I don't know. I just feel like we're better than that as humans. So I want to be able to report stories that promote all of the world, not just what we think we should know, or not think just what think people think we should know. And again, it will be with AI avatars. And there, again, the reasoning for that, just in case you guys didn't stay for the whole time, uh, is strictly because they can't get burnt out. So I can work these ladies and gentlemen 24/7, 365. don't matter. We could have news reports at 1 a.m. Like it don't matter. And that's the advantages of it. And it's not to replace anybody that's currently working in the news industry. It's just to give you another option. Because I think both are necessary. I think, the things that people do and the sacrifices they make to like bring us media in general is great. I think it's unbelievable, to dedicate your life to something and be very proud of what your work. So thank you for those out there. I'm not trying to criticize you in any way, shape, or form. So please, no one take it the wrong way. I just think it's time that we have a capability of presenting things in a different way too. And I also think, to me, the way in my utopian viewpoint of it is, you get these kids used to gaining their knowledge from the virtual space, because virtual reality is going to take off and it's going to be one of the most popular things in the next 10 years or so. um, you get them set up for adulthood and get them accustomed to watching the news, and getting and educating themselves and being curious about the world. Because one thing I will say that media struggles with today is the information that is necessary, people are never engaging with. Like, to me, I was the weirdo that used to think C-SPAN and ESPN should be like this. Like, I don't understand how it's not getting the same level of publication as ESPN does. Like, I think, when you're talking about the things that affect my tomorrows, like when I found out what C-SPAN was a channel, like, which I didn't even find out it existed really until college, like, which is crazy. But just to know that that channel even existed, like, and then what it shows on that channel is like, why are we not getting high level production? Where's my 4K? Where's my Stephen A. Smith of C-SPAN? Like, giving me the whole rundown. Like, I want the whole kit and caboodle, as they say. Um, and so that's what we're going to provide with the Good Network. We're going to make sure everything has the entertainment value, because outside of immersing you in knowledge to get your attention, entertainment is an element that we've known since the beginning of time as well, that locks in your attention span. So while you're going through it, you need to be entertained. So we want to make sure that we're providing the entertainment as well. So I know this got really, really long. I'm not upset with it. It's super early, and well, it's not even early anymore. I started this journey thinking about this at like 4 a.m. Eastern time. So I haven't slept, but I appreciate you, for anybody that sat through and watched. I know this is, I don't even know how long I've been doing this. Like, it looks like we're probably like a couple hours in. So it's a movie, guys. It turned into a movie. So I guess here's, instead of my first vlog, here's my first documentary. So again, thank you guys for listening. For those that have, for those that are going to piecemeal this and come back to it, thank you for that. But I wanted to tell you what I'm doing with the Goods Virtual World, and I wanted to kind of give you insights on how I think, how I work, so that way you guys can know me as a person, because I know that's necessary. And again, we are looking for people to join the mission, so please, please, please consider it. I am in this strictly for educational purposes and understanding that it's time to create something new. Oh, and one thing too that I forgot to put out there. The beautiful part about all of this is, guess what? We don't have to argue about scholastic funding anymore. Because one of the things that makes this great is all you need is a MetaQuest headset and the internet. And it doesn't even have to be an Oculus anymore, because over time we're going to get more and more companies that build these things, and there already are. So forget having to force your kids, and be upset that you got to put your kid in private school or this other educational system in order for them to get a good education, because we are going to provide that for them at a very inexpensive cost, to the school corporation. And for all of my career development centers out there, we are going to provide it for you for a very inexpensive cost, for all the individuals out there that are unemployed and looking for work and want to be able to make a difference in this world. So we don't have to argue over books, contracts, and all this other stuff anymore, man. We just got to Focus on making sure the school is up to code. And I promise you, once this platform is built, that's all they're going to need because we're going to make sure that they're getting the academic knowledge. We're going to make sure that they're getting the real life knowledge, and school is going to be cool again. And one thing about virtual reality, I'm a Miss Frizzle kid. So for those that watch Magic School Bus, I'll leave you on this. Get messy because it's time to get messy. Have a great day, everybody.